right, so let's say that you have your coaching business up and running. You have learned some coaching skills. You're starting to take on some clients and you're taking this seriously. So I'm going to break down some ways that you can better manage your time as a coach. This is something that I've had to pay attention to over and over again. Sometimes I can be all over the place, and it's really important for you to have structure. I know that I'm a better coach and my business does better when I have some structure and some organization in place. So I'm going to share with you what's worked for me over the years. The first thing is you want to use some time management tools. So I personally have used so many apps, so many platforms on the desktop as well. And the go-to ones that I have used over the years, or even just use now, is Asana, which is a project management app. You have Monday or even Slack. Okay, this is a way for you and your team to be able to communicate with each other. It's to be able to keep everything on one page, and it's a great way to create channels to be able to discuss anything that needs to be covered when it comes to either your emails, your social media, when your client sessions are, anything that's administration based. It's really good to be able to categorize your tasks within a project. So that's a project management app. We have calendars as well, which is super important. So Google Calendar, also Calendly, to be able to set up calls. So that's Calendly, Calendly. You can use it for discovery calls too. So you can invite people to book a time and a date. You just set the time and date and also how long the duration of that session is. And then they book it in and then it shows up on your calendar. It's pretty cool. I also have an app which helps a lot if you're coaching people in different time zones. It's called Synchronize, and it allows you to be able to set different time zones here, if you can see, in different locations around the world. There are a lot of apps which allow you to do that, but that's the one that I use. It's called Synchronize. It's pretty cool. Then what we have is any way to manage your to-do list is a good thing. So I would say to-do list management. You have Trello, Trello is one of the apps that you can use, and another one called Todoist, Todoist, Todoist. So check that out, just to be able to write the to-do list down, just to keep track of your steps and things you're focusing on for the day, just for your own personal focus and structure. Then you can have some automation apps in place. I use an app called Buffer app. That's Buffer, Buffer app. And I schedule like my Facebook posts, my Twitter posts on there so that I don't have to be on there all day. You can use another platform called Zapier, Zapier. And Zapier allows you to integrate and connect a lot of different apps and platforms. And you can command different sequences. You can program it and program the steps as well on what happens if somebody comments on your Instagram, then does a message get sent to them? Or do you like their post back? There's another way as well to be able to use Zapier to integrate into your email platforms as well. So if somebody emails you, then you can send them an automatic message on their email. So that way they receive an email with a link. They can click on that link, and if they click on that link, then you can program it to do something else where it will follow them on their social media platform. Obviously, it sounds a bit technical, but Zapier has a lot of really cool tutorials that you can watch on YouTube to be able to see what apps can connect with what and how you can integrate it and how you can program steps. It's really cool once you learn how to do it. And they're always updating. They've always got these new integrations into new apps as well. And it means you can basically automate so much of your business without having to actually be clicking on things and going to links yourself, right? So that saves a lot of time. And then I also use an app as well on my phone called Evernote. And it's pretty cool. It's a cool app. This is Evernote here. You'll be able to find it on the App Store, whichever phone you have, whether it's Android or an Apple. And you're able to put pictures in there, record voice notes, video, text. You can format the text with like bold and big letters or underline. It's really cool. So I take a lot of notes in there as well when I get inspiration. And you might want to take notes in there. If you're doing a coaching session, you can have the desktop version and just note things based off the session that you have with your client to be able to come back to it later, right? So that is the managing your time using time management tools, okay? The second thing that I would say is you want to set goals and priorities. So set specific goals and priorities for your coaching business so that you have a good structure in your mind of what it is that you're spending your time on. Are you just focusing on one-on-ones? Are you looking at doing one-on-ones and a group program? Are you recording pre-recorded courses? Are you creating some offers? Just map in your calendar what you're doing for that month or for that week so you can stay structured. And so you have goals and priorities in place. That's going to be key for you. You also want to be able to create a schedule, right? So you can have a look and see like, okay, how much time am I spending today coaching? I personally have on my alarm clocks, I can see the ones that are coming up for the day. And I'm reminded typically 15 minutes before the coaching session starts. Sometimes if I know that I'm going to be out that day moving about, I will set the alarm clock 30 minutes or 45 minutes before the session starts as well, just to be able to notify me. Everybody has their own way of being reminded and being notified. For me, I do that. Other people like to have their calendar and just like a little pop up on the screen, so work out whatever's best for you to stay in structure. And you also want to make sure that you have time for self-care, have time for breaks, time for your family as well. If you got family, if you got a romantic partner or kids, you want to make sure that you have time for that too. You want to go out for a walk. I just literally went out for a walk with my wife, and it's good to get some fresh air and walk it off, instead of constantly just working back to back. The other thing you can do too is you can batch similar tasks together. So that's a fourth point, batch similar tasks. And what I mean by this is if you're hopping around way too much, let's say you're coaching someone, then you're on social media, then you're doing administration work, then you're creating something, your brain is having to switch into lots of different ways of thinking, and it can exhaust you. So the key is that if you're going to create content, you could sit down and batch your creation time. You could say Monday at 4 p.m. till 6 p.m. I'm going to sit down and create 8 pieces of content or 10 pieces of content, right? And that way it's full focus in creation mode, and you'll find you'll be in a lot more flow rather than hopping between tabs in your mind, because that can be exhausting, and exhaustion kills creativity. Then you can just make sure that you block your time and only solely focus on that type of creation, right? Because administration tasks, you're using different parts of your brain and you're thinking a different way than what you are if you're creating, right? Because you're responding, and it's sometimes more of a masculine sort of focus, whereas if you're creating, you're more in that feminine flow. That's what you want to tap into, right? And that obviously is a construct in the Western world when it comes to psychology of the expression or the personality or characteristics of a way of thinking. But I notice like there's a difference between hustle and flow. You want to separate the two and make sure you have time for hustle, hard work, coaching, going for it, and then flow, creating, meditating, brainstorming, visualizing, praying, whatever it may be. Okay. So it's good to be able to be aware of that. The next thing, point 5, is delegate your tasks. So you could have a virtual assistant. I know a lot of people in the Western world, in Australia, UK, America, Canada, New Zealand, they tend to like to hire people from the Philippines because those in the Philippines speak English, right? Actually, they have a lot of American-based schools in the Philippines, so their English is really good. You can also outsource some great talent in other countries too, Thailand, India, Russia, other countries around the world where their dollar might not be as strong. They're pretty reasonable on what you would pay to be able to have a virtual assistant, and they're very ready to learn and grow, right? And also, if you got somebody local that you can afford to once your business is going, I'm only suggesting VAs because, if you're just starting out, you might not have the budget for it. But if you can, then get somebody local that you can work with, and have somebody by your side for a bit to be able to show them how to use your platforms and apps, or just to get to know your voice and how to interact if you're getting them to message people or respond to people. So that can be good too. It's great that we have Zoom. You can do share screen and you can do voice and video chat and everything as well now. So you can learn a lot and train a lot as well with your assistants, with your staff. And that way you can grow from anywhere. You know, I know some coaches that have their team scattered all throughout the world, working on different time zones. So they've always got someone that can do customer service. They've always got someone that can answer emails. So that's pretty cool too. You can work up to that. That could be part of your vision if you're just starting out. Then you have the next point, which is limiting your distractions. Okay. This is the one that I got to be honest, like even I slip on this often. It's something that I've got to make sure within myself that I carve out the time, right? And I make sure that I set up like little rituals. Like I won't give myself some sort of treat to eat until I finish a certain task, right? Or I won't check my phone until I've got a recording done or I've finished up a session. So I create these little like conditions and deals with myself in order to be able to limit my distractions. So everybody has a different way of doing it. There's another technique called the Pomodoro technique where you spend, I think it's like 80-20 Pareto principle as well, where you spend that time working, but then you get up and make sure that you take that break and then come back, and it allows for your mind to like reset. You don't want to do it too often because then you just won't get into flow, but you can have a look into some different ways to stay productive and not be distracted. Focus is going to be the most important commodity in the times that we're in right now, because we're on information overload and there's so much distraction and so much sensational content out there that people can easily be sucked into consuming instead of creating. So you don't want to be ruled by the robots, right? Make sure you limit your distractions. I mentioned recently on my social media that social media is like a casino for validation. You know, we're going to be careful of constantly needing that validation from our social media. Instead, create and impact and work with people, support. That's where so much more of your fulfillment is going to come from. Okay. And then the last thing, point number 7, is learn to say no. Okay. Don't overcommit yourself or take more on than you can actually handle. It's one of the big things I've had to learn over the years. I, a few years ago, reached adrenal fatigue. I burnt right out. I was just saying yes to so many things. And I was forced to. Like physically, I just couldn't go further. And I had to start saying no to so many things. And now I say no to so many things. You know, I get podcast requests and I get, job partnership opportunities and things of that nature. And I just say, no. You know, so you got to get good at knowing what your vision is as well. Sometimes you can come off track from your vision. I did that, for a year or so. I just wasn't focused on the vision and I started burning out. So learn to say no to the things that are not going to contribute to your vision and your growth. Okay. So by implementing these strategies for managing your time, you can better increase your productivity in your coaching business, which I believe will lead you to having more fun and lead you to way more creation in your business. So make sure you implement all of these tools and ways of thinking and showing up with structure in order to win.